Hey guys, Thomas Soli Jr. here, aka Mustached Tom, here to review Avengers Infinity Wars, which came out today. This will, of course, be a spoiler review, so if you have not seen the movie, I highly recommend waiting to see the movie until you see the review, or if you really don't care, then, stick around. But there will be spoilers, of course. So, here we go. So this movie jumps right into the action um, with the spaceport being attacked, um, and it shows how they have these little children of Thanos attacking Loki and Thor. They're just there all of a sudden. There's no real setup into how they get there, but yeah, they're there. Um, and Thanos already has one of the gems at the beginning of the film. He's torturing Thor. Hulk is there, so he tries to fight Thanos for a bit. And Loki attempts to kill Thanos after trying to plead with him, and then Thanos kills Loki. So right at the beginning, there's already a death. There was worry about who was gonna die, who wasn't gonna die. I think on everyone's radar was Vision, which I'll get to that in a bit. But Loki was one of the first at the very beginning of the film. Anyways, we see that Doctor Strange and Mr. Banner appear uh, elsewhere to warn everyone out, or warn some of the others, which include Tony and Pepper, um, who are talking about wanting to have a kid. So, when Strange visits Tony, they give a little bit of exposition about what the Infinity Stones are, what the purpose of it is, and what can be done once all the stones are collected. So get the exposition out nice and early, so we can get back into it. Um, so Strange wants to keep the Time Stone for as long as he possibly can, because he's in possession of that stone. But Tony does say that currently the Avengers are still broken up, but they're trying to work on fixing that as things are looking pretty bleak already. So, anyways, Spider Man, we see that he's in the movie. He sees that there's danger as this tall circular thing, like airport or whatever you want to call it, um, is coming toward them, and of course we got a Stanley, a little cameo there as the bus driver. Anyways, Spider-Man goes towards the action, and Thanos has some of more of his kids come out as his little warriors. So Iron Man suits up to fight this Axeman. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if any of these little kids have a name, so I just gave them little code names in my notes. So I called one of them the Axeman or the Scytheman to be more accurate. Anyways, Spider-Man attacks and Strange takes on the skinny guy. Um, and that is one of the downplays of the movie, is that yeah, the Thanos' smaller units aren't really anything special. But regardless, um, so Spider-Man wants to tag along with Iron Man, and he gets a new space iron suit to go. And Banner gets in contact with Captain America, so that everyone's informed of the situation at this point in time. Meanwhile, the Guardians of the Galaxy get this distress call, and they move on out. And thus they find Thor. Um, and Gamora mentions how she's related to Thanos, and Thor kind of flirts with her a little bit, but Quill's seeing that tries to copy Thor. A little bit of funny attempts at funny banter at this point. Anyway, um, Rocket Raccoon goes with Thor to split up. Uh, to forge this hammer at some point that will supposedly help them beat Thanos. So Scarlet Witch and Vision hooked up. I don't remember if that was a thing in the last, whenever their last little thing was, but yeah, they're a thing in this movie. I don't remember. So they like kiss and they have feelings for each other and whatnot. Um, and Vision is also the one also has one of the stones in him, which is why everyone was saying of course he's gonna die. Like that's really obvious. So just keep that in mind. It's kind of obvious that that's going to end up happening. Anyways, um, so they want to try to flee, but you know, Scarlet Witch and this other lady like fight off one of the daughters of Thanos that is unnamed. Um, and Vision fights this other one. I think it was the Scythe one. I don't know. Jeez. Anyway, Cap arrives with Falcon, and they come in with the assist with Black Widow as well. And then they leave on Jet. Meanwhile, sorry, my notes are there. I have a lot of notes. This is a 2-hour movie, so I do apologize if this review is a little bit kind of bleh, but whatever. Um, so, anyways, uh, Cap, yep. Meanwhile, as I was saying, on this nowhere planet, it's literally called Nowhere, from the previous movies. We see this interest. Oh, no, it was like it wasn't Nowhere. We don't get there yet. Anyways, we see this flashback with Gamora, and Thanos taking her in while her planet gets destroyed, and Gamora is taken in, and Thanos shows like this balancing little thing, and says that like his thing ends up inevitably being like you gotta balance out the population because overpopulation is what is tearing these other planets apart, and Earth was among those planets. So Drax thinks he's mastered invisibility, and more attempts at jokes and witty banter are thrown about here and there with that. Anyways, then they go to the Nowhere planet. There we go. And Thanos already has the Collector pinned down. Gamora tries to stop Thanos by stabbing him. Thanos shows that he changed the reality of the actual area around them, showing that there was already enough destruction by the time they got there. Drax is smashed to pieces temporarily, and the girl also falls apart temporarily. Quinn also sees that his gun has been replaced with a bubble gun. And once Thanos leaves, they are able to be put back together. So, meanwhile, War Machine talks with this business secretary. He's like, oh, doing kind of pointless, like, oh, I'm still mad at you kind of thing, even though the world's at stake again. But Bruce and Black Widow arrive there. Vision still wants to destroy the stone, but they get a plan to go to Wakanda, and there we see Black Panther give the Winter Soldier back his arm. Meanwhile, Strange is captured and tortured by one of the skinny torture bad guy. Anyway, Spider-Man makes another movie reference to aliens, specifically to make a hole in the ship so that it sucks out the skinny guy. So they do that. Iron Man replaces and fixes the ship so they are safe for the time being. So Iron Man talks with Strange about what to do. and Spider-Man instantly becomes an Avenger at this point in time. Anyway, Gamora says how she's like sort of traveling with Thanos, and she mentions how she hates everything about him. And Thanos goes deeper into his, how things are overpopulated and how he wants to correct for that. Gamora then sees her sister Nebula being tortured for one of the other pieces. And Thanos plays a clip showing that Gamora knew about the Soul Stone. Then we cut to Thor, Groot, and Rocket, where Thor can understand Groot, which is an interesting aspect, but nonetheless, they're talking about plans to how to kill Thanos. And in the process, Thor gets another eye, because he had the eye patch, and now he has another replacement eye. They go to this other planet. I don't remember what it was called. I put it in my notes as just Navi, but it's not the full name. That's what I just called it for short. Anyways, Thor sees one of the doors, played by Peter Dinklage. Sorry if I mispronounced that name, but anyways. And he was the one responsible for making the gauntlet in the first place. So we see that Nebula escapes and is moving on her way. So, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Strange force land on this planet called Titan. And we later learn out that this is like Thanos' home. So Drax goes with Star-Lord, and they fight some of the other guys. Two of the other ones, I forgot which ones they were fighting exactly. Meanwhile, this weapon is being planned to be made. So Strange wants to use the time a bit to their advantage, hopefully. And he sees that there's one timeline where they win, and he doesn't really disclose much else beyond that. So Thanos, interestingly, sees Red Skull, the villain from the Captain America movie, sorry. And he was teleported to this strange planet. I don't remember this actually happening, but I guess it happened. I don't know. Anyway, so Thanos hears that he has to sacrifice a soul to get the Soul Stone, so he sacrifices Gamora, drops her down for the Soul Stone. And then we cut to Black Panther's scientist. I forget her name. I'm sorry. I don't think they mention her by name in this movie, and I just didn't have time to look it up because I have to get going soon. But anyway. So Thor spins Rocket around trying to get energy to start to build this forge, and he starts to open the door to the forge, but it's not successful. So the Wakanda warriors get ready as Thanos' army of children bring out this spider army. They start at a distance, fighting on and seeing that the creatures are trying to get in. The Wakandan warriors charge in. Groot helps out. Then with the forge to make the handle of this sort of axe-type weapon. So we see that Thor does manage to arrive with this said hammer. Strange then sees Thanos and is trying to put on a little magic act. And Thanos shows Titan as it previously was to Strange, showing how he said how things were going to go bad and how he was a prophet. Iron Man attempts to crush Thanos afterwards, and Spider-Man and Drax also try to help in with Strange as well. They're all trying to remove the gauntlet all at once, but they're having so much trouble just doing that. Um, Nebula also arrives as well, but Quill is too upset to keep it together for them long enough. So he's like head bashing Thanos with his gun, only to see the other girl, the Mind Girl. I forget her name. She's like the alien Mind Girl. Like she was like had her hands on Thanos's head, but then Quill's stupid actions, um, he was able to break free from that. Um, so other funny little bits happen, like Steve meeting Groot. I don't know why that was funny. Like their attempt at funny more stuff. Anyway, um, so the bad guy team brings in these bigger machines, and thusly Scarlet Witch uses her OP magic to stop these things from coming out. But Vision is like busting out because they're closing in from the other side. And Black Widow and shoot, the second in command for the Black Panther, the one that lady from The Walking Dead plays. I also don't know her name still, but they fight off the bad guy lady. Anyway, Cap saves Vision from a certain doom, but Vision returns the favors shortly after. So Strange makes many of himself trying to hold off Thanos, and then he still gets caught. Iron Man attacks Thanos, and then Thanos like stabs Iron Man at the side, and I assume that that's where everyone thinks that Iron Man's gonna die, but he stabbed him in the side. There were quite a bit of people who thought Iron Man was gonna die in this movie, but anyway, Strange at this point offers the stone, and once he gets it, he gets like this little vision for whatever reason where he's talking to like Kid Gamora. I don't know what the point of that scene was, but anyway, after he's able to make himself teleport to Wakanda, there they see that Thanos has 5 of the 6 pieces at this point. So Vision is requesting that Scarlet Witch kill her. So Thanos is moving on up, tossing everyone aside like they're nothing. So Vision is able to shatter, but Thanos goes back in time to bring Vision back to take the stone and then kill him again. So there's your answer. Vision dies twice in the film, technically. So Thor arrives with a special hammer and knocks Thanos in the chest. But then he teleports away elsewhere. But without the gauntlet. Then he sees the Kid Gamora thing for whatever reason. Sorry, that came up a little bit later. So he teleports away without the gauntlet, and then we start to see people just start to vanish into nothingness. Some of the warriors start to vanish. Black Panther vanishes. Bucky vanishes. Groot vanishes. Scarlet Witch vanishes. Falcon vanishes. Drax, Quill, Spider-Man, all gone. Every single one of them gone. That's crazy. Like, this movie ends with all of them just being completely wiped out into this nothingness. And then we just see Thanos smile, and then the movie ends. I have to applaud this movie. I really do. That ending where it's just boom. It shows that this movie was willing to go to that place where people were saying these people were going to die, and it delivered on that front. And it delivered on Thanos being a villain that has an interesting sort of outlook on what's going on, and he succeeds. That's extremely rare for a superhero movie where the villain succeeds in their plan. He's in the count of two other villains that I can think of that have technically accomplished what they were out for, and that being at one point Doctor Doom, and the other being Scourge the Hedgehog from Sonic. Like, there are only two other villains in this, in from things I've seen that have accomplished their goals, and now Thanos gets to join them in that regard, as he has wiped out more of the population, but we only see the heroes that vanish from this existence. So we only have to assume that more people several elsewhere have also vanished into nothingness. And that is where Avengers Infinity Wars ends. And I gotta applaud that. But outside of Thanos, I do think that his little army is very underplayed, as I mentioned. Um, Again, don't know any of their names. Um, Gamora's importance to this movie is extremely vital, because, again, she's the daughter, and he has to be the one to sacrifice her. So it's interesting how they brought in the Guardians of the Galaxy into the movie as well. They play a bigger part than I think most people anticipated. Um, and oddly enough, they mention Ant-Man in this movie, and he's nowhere to be seen. Ant-Man the movie, I think that was the one that's coming up next. I'm not 100% sure about that. Ant-Man's nowhere in this movie, so he's doing something, I don't know. He has to be alive with the other one for that movie to make any sense. So there's that. Jeez. Yeah, interesting movie, superhero movie, definitely. I really enjoyed it. I think they had their banter moments. I think they were a bit quicker than they usually are. They're just like, they've gotten used to this pretty snappy, like, one-liner comeback sort of stuff, down to the whole part where it just, if it doesn't stick, they just move on to the next thing. Um, and it's going to be interesting to see how the heroes that remain are going to deal with the heroes that have been vanquished or just evaporated into this nothingness. So it's definitely a crux in the superhero, uh, Marvel superhero movies, anyways. Plans ahead, so we're gonna see what happens. So that was my spoiler review, and if I were to give it a score, I would definitely give it an 8 out of 10. I did thoroughly enjoy it. I did wish that we got a bit more from Thanos' little army, because it seemed like they were pretty important to this movie, but they're kind of sidelined. And some of the roles that you think would be a bit bigger kind of get shifted from what we expect. So it's pretty interesting on that front. Other than that, yeah, it's a movie, and it did good. So that's my review. And if you did enjoy that review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out that link in the description. It will head you over to my Patreon page. And any donations are greatly appreciated. And until next time, everyone,